In the shadows of the Roman Empire, where opulent temples rose high and bustling marketplaces echoed with life, a quiet yet profound movement was stirring. From the edges of society came a group of followers. Christians, they called themselves. They held no power, lacked wealth, and were few in number. Yet their belief in a figure named Jesus, who they declared had risen from the dead, gave them a conviction that stirred the powerful, threatened the status quo, and attracted the downtrodden. For early Christians, devotion meant risking life and freedom, and they knew that the price of their faith might be martyrdom. The story of the early Christian martyrs is a tale of unwavering conviction, resilience, and the belief that even death could be overcome by love and faith. Let us journey back and witness this courage. The Christian movement grew in secret, hidden within homes and underground places where the faithful gathered to pray and share stories of Jesus. The Roman Empire, meanwhile, was polytheistic, with gods for every occasion and revered emperors who were considered divine. To the Romans, the Christians were strange and defiant, refusing to make sacrifices to the emperor or the traditional gods, and instead proclaiming allegiance to one invisible God. Christians were seen as a dangerous cult that threatened social order. Their faith was perceived as an affront to Roman authority and tradition, and they were labeled as atheists for denying the Roman gods. Initially, the persecution was sporadic, carried out by local governors, but as Christianity spread, so too did the anger and suspicion against them. What began as local disdain gradually morphed into systematic persecution. One of the first infamous persecutions took place in AD 64 under the Emperor Nero. That year, a great fire ravaged Rome, leaving vast swathes of the city in ruins. Although historical sources suggest that Nero himself might have orchestrated the fire to make room for his grandiose building projects, he looked for a scapegoat to deflect the anger of the Roman citizens. His attention turned to the Christians, a group already distrusted and misunderstood by the general populace. The historian Tacitus recounts how Nero's men rounded up Christians, accusing them of arson. Those who would not renounce their faith were subjected to brutal tortures. Some were covered in animal skins and torn apart by dogs, while others were set ablaze and used as human torches to light Nero's gardens at night. The cruelty was shocking even by Roman standards, and it marked the beginning of open hostility against Christians. Yet, for many of the believers, their faith remained unbroken. One of the earliest documented martyrs was Polycarp, Bishop of Smyrna, in present-day Turkey. Arrested around AD 155, Polycarp was a man of advanced age, revered by the Christian community and respected by many Romans for his character. When the local authorities captured him, they gave him a chance to save his life. He had only to curse Christ, and he would be released. Polycarp's response echoed with conviction. 86 years have I served him, and he has done me no wrong. How can I blaspheme my king who saved me? The governor, frustrated by Polycarp's refusal, sentenced him to be burned at the stake. Eyewitness accounts describe how, even as the flames rose around him, Polycarp prayed calmly, his faith steadfast. Legend has it that the flames formed an arch around him, sparing him from harm, and that he was eventually killed by a sword. Polycarp's death became a symbol of courage and conviction, inspiring countless Christians in the generations that followed. In Carthage, around the year AD 203, two young women, Perpetua and Felicity, were arrested for their Christian beliefs. Perpetua, a noblewoman, was only 22 and had a newborn child. Felicity, her servant, was pregnant. Despite their differences in status, they were united by their shared faith and conviction. While in prison, Perpetua kept a diary, giving us one of the most personal accounts of early Christian martyrdom. She wrote of the dreams she had, visions that gave her courage and reminded her of her faith in Christ. When her father, a Roman noble, begged her to renounce her faith and save herself, Perpetua remained resolute. She said, "I am a Christian," choosing her faith over family, comfort, and life itself. When the day of their execution arrived, Perpetua and Felicity, along with other believers, were brought to the arena. There, they faced wild beasts, but through it all, they encouraged each other, holding on to their faith to the last moment. Their courage and solidarity inspired the onlookers, and their martyrdom left a powerful legacy in the Christian community, symbolizing the equality of believers and the strength of faith. The 3rd century brought more systematic and organized persecutions under Emperor Decius. In 250 AD, Decius issued an edict requiring all citizens of the empire to perform a public sacrifice to the Roman gods and obtain a certificate to prove their loyalty. Christians, of course, refused to participate in these rites, which they viewed as acts of idolatry. Those who refused to sacrifice faced imprisonment, torture, and even death. During this time, a large number of Christians were executed, and the church faced internal divisions as well. Some believers, under threat of death, chose to renounce their faith, creating a schism among those who felt betrayed by their lapse and those who believed in offering forgiveness. The Decian persecution left a profound scar on the Christian community but also strengthened it. Those who remained steadfast became heroes, celebrated by their fellow Christians and later canonized as saints. The resilience of these martyrs demonstrated to the empire that Christianity was not a transient movement but a force that could not be extinguished through violence. The final and most intense period of persecution took place under Emperor Diocletian, known as the Great Persecution, from 303 to 311 AD. Diocletian, initially tolerant of Christians, ultimately viewed them as a threat to the unity and security of the empire. Under his rule, a series of edicts were issued that targeted Christians with the goal of eradicating them from public life. Christian scriptures were burned, churches were destroyed, and clergy were imprisoned and tortured. Ordinary Christians were forced to choose between renouncing their faith and enduring horrific punishment. Yet even in the face of such brutal persecution, stories of resilience emerged. One remarkable example is that of Saint Sebastian, a Roman soldier and secretly a Christian. When his faith was discovered, he was sentenced to death by archery. Left for dead, Sebastian survived and later returned to confront the emperor, a bold testament to his faith. He was subsequently executed, and his story of courage spread across the empire, inspiring Christians and spreading hope during dark times. As the persecution intensified, so did the underground networks of Christians. Despite the edicts against them, they continued to gather, share their faith, and care for each other in times of need. Their determination and resilience, even in the face of intense suffering, only served to spread the message of Christianity further and faster. The resilience of the early Christians and their acts of martyrdom eventually led to a dramatic transformation. By the early 4th century, Christianity had spread so widely that even Roman officials and nobles were adopting the faith. When Constantine came to power in 312 AD, he issued the Edict of Milan, declaring religious tolerance throughout the empire. With this, Christianity emerged from the shadows. Constantine's conversion to Christianity was a turning point. The faith that once had been persecuted now found favor within the imperial court, and the once martyred Christians became a powerful force. The persecution of early Christians, their unwavering faith, and their willingness to sacrifice their lives for their beliefs left an indelible mark on history. Their courage inspired future generations, transforming Christianity from a persecuted sect into a global faith. The stories of the martyrs taught later Christians that their faith was worth any cost, even life itself. Today, the memory of these martyrs reminds us of the resilience of the human spirit, the power of conviction, and the strength that can emerge even in the darkest of times. Their lives echo through history as a testament that faith can withstand any persecution and that the love that bound them to their beliefs was a force stronger than death itself.